The German general expected a salute. Instead, General George S. Patton made him carry his own luggage. The proud German officer had spent the entire war living like absolute royalty. Enlisted soldiers carried his bags. Personal servants cleaned his boots. Junior officers stood at attention the moment he entered a room. But in the spring of 1945, after surrendering to the United States Army, everything changed in a matter of seconds. General Patton had issued a simple, uncompromising order to his Third Army. No captured German officer would be treated like a nobleman, no personal servants, no special privileges, and absolutely no exceptions. The result was a scene of such intense, historic humiliation that many captured German generals never forgot it for the rest of their lives. Why did Patton insist on this strange, grueling psychological tactic? And how did a simple leather suitcase become one of the most effective psychological weapons of the war's final days? The reason reveals Patton's unique, brilliant philosophy on crushing the enemy's spirit. To understand why General George S. Patton ordered his men to enforce this specific controversial rule, you have to understand how he viewed the nature of his enemy. Patton, famously known as Old Blood and Guts, was not just a battlefield tactician. He was a deeply read military historian. He had spent his entire life studying the wars of the past, the rise and fall of empires, and the complex psychology of military leadership. He knew that the German officer corps, especially the Prussian aristocrats and the fanatical leaders of the SS, operated under a highly rigid, centuries-old class system. In this feudal system, a German officer was treated like a nobleman. He did not perform physical labor. He did not clean his own boots. He did not carry his own equipment. Every high-ranking German commander was assigned a group of orderlies, enlisted soldiers whose only job was to act as personal servants, cooking their meals, pressing their uniforms, and carrying their luggage. The German generals believed that this class distinction was what made them superior. It was the foundation of their belief in the master race. They viewed themselves as gods of war, completely elevated above the common men who fought and died under their command. Patton despised this aristocratic entitlement. To Patton, an American general was a leader of free men. American officers slept in the same mud, ate the same rations, and faced the same hardships as their soldiers. The American military was a meritocracy, where respect was earned through courage, not handed down through a noble title. Patton knew that if the Americans captured these German officers and allowed them to keep their personal servants and their luxury privileges, the Nazis would never truly accept defeat too. They would enter the prison camps believing they were still superior. Patton decided that the first step to winning the peace was to completely dismantle the Prussian military ego. By May 1945, the war in Europe was in its final chaotic weeks. The Third Reich was collapsing into ruins. Realizing that the war was lost, and terrified of the relentless, vengeful advance of the Soviet Red Army from the east, thousands of senior German generals, SS commanders, and Nazi officials began a massive, desperate retreat toward the west. They wanted to surrender to the Americans. They believed the Americans were soft, civilized Democrats who would easily fall for their aristocratic charm. As they fled their posts, these high-ranking officers packed everything they owned. They loaded heavy wooden crates and leather trunks with their personal wealth, stolen artwork from occupied Europe, fine wines, and custom-tailored uniforms. They traveled in massive convoys of luxury Mercedes-Benz and Maybach staff cars, accompanied by their personal aides, junior officers, and servants. They were not running like defeated men. They were moving like wealthy aristocrats relocating to a new estate. When they arrived at the checkpoints of General Patton's Third Army, they fully expected to be treated as esteemed colleagues. They expected to sign a few formal documents, shake hands with the American commanders, and be escorted to comfortable private villas where their servants could tend to their daily needs. They expected the American soldiers to stand at attention and salute their medals. They had absolutely no idea that General Patton had already issued a series of strict, uncompromising directives to his provost marshal, the chief of the military police. Patton's order was simple: strip them of their pride, immediately. The American infantrymen manning the checkpoints were exhausted. They had been fighting, marching, and bleeding for months. Their uniforms were torn, covered in grease and the gray dust of ruined German cities. They slept in wet foxholes. They carried 60-pound rucksacks on their backs for miles through the mud, surviving on cold canned rations. Suddenly, pristine luxury cars pulled up and out stepped German generals with clean uniforms and polished boots, demanding that the American privates carry their heavy luggage. The contrast was deeply offensive. The American soldiers looked at the piles of heavy leather trunks, and then they looked at their own calloused hands. They looked at the survivors of the concentration camps, who were walking barefoot in the dirt. The American GIs realized that these Nazi commanders had spent the entire war living in absolute luxury while millions of innocent people suffered. And now they wanted to enter captivity as VIP guests, but Patton's men were prepared. The moment a German general stepped out of his vehicle and gestured for his orderly to carry his bags, the American guards intervened. They roughly separated the orderlies from the officers. The servants were marched off to the standard enlistment pens, leaving the generals standing alone in the road. From now on, the American guards informed the shocked German commanders. Every man carries his own weight. What followed was a slow, agonizing, and deeply satisfying lesson in humility. The American soldiers pointed to the heavy leather trunks sitting in the wet, sticky mud. The German officers were told that if they wanted to keep their belongings, they had to carry them themselves. To a career Prussian general, performing manual labor in front of common soldiers was a fate worse than death. It was a complete, devastating destruction of his military dignity. Desperate to save their precious belongings, the highly decorated generals were forced to bend down. They gripped the leather handles of their massive, heavy trunks. They lifted. Their faces turned bright red under the physical strain. Their custom-pressed gray uniforms began to stretch and tear. The sweat dripped down their faces, smudging the dirt on their skin. They began to drag their luggage down the long, muddy roads toward the prisoner pens. Step by step, the gold-tipped batons, the silver medals, and the pristine boots were dragged through the thick, freezing mud. The German commanders slipped. They stumbled. Their hands, accustomed only to holding champagne glasses and signing execution orders, became blistered and raw. Before we continue, do you believe General Patton's method of forcing these officers to carry their own heavy luggage was the perfect way to break their arrogance? Or was it too disrespectful for a military surrender? Let us know what you think in the comments below, because this simple order completely changed the power dynamic. As the GIs watched the proud commanders of the Third Reich struggle and groan under the weight of their own bags, the myth of the master race evaporated in the wind. They looked pathetic. They looked like ordinary, weak, and tired old men. This simple physical act had a profound psychological impact on the prisoners. By forcing them to carry their own luggage, Patton was forcing them to physically feel the weight of their own defeat. Every step they took in the heavy mud was a reminder that they were no longer in control too. Their titles meant nothing. Their servants were gone. They were entirely at the mercy of the American soldiers they had once dismissed as uncivilized cowboys. It was a brilliant form of poetic justice. For years, these officers had ordered millions of people on forced marches, carrying only what they could fit in their hands, while the SS rode alongside them in comfortable carriages. Now the roles were completely reversed. The American soldiers rode alongside them in roaring jeeps, chewing gum, and looking down at the shivering German generals who were gasping for breath as they dragged their heavy trunks through the dirt. When the German officers finally arrived at the prisoner pens, they were completely broken. Their immaculate uniforms were covered in mud. Their hands were bleeding. Their pride was gone. They quietly placed their heavy trunks in the dirt and sat down beside them, completely exhausted, silently accepting their new reality as common prisoners of war. General Patton's simple directive had achieved a total, bloodless psychological victory. He had crushed the German officer class's sense of aristocratic superiority before they ever stepped foot in a prison cell. Patton's order was never really about luggage. It was about something much bigger. For years, these German officers had lived as members of an elite class, convinced they were above ordinary people. But in the final days of the war, that illusion disappeared. Their servants were gone, their authority was gone, and for the first time, they were forced to carry their own burdens. As the defeated generals dragged their heavy trunks through the mud, the message was unmistakable. Titles, medals, and privilege meant nothing anymore. The war was over, and so was their sense of superiority. What do you think? Was Patton's approach a brilliant psychological lesson, or did it go too far? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy powerful World War II stories like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.